Oh, I do believe we are live, so I'll say indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friend. Thank you for joining me again. This little worm just climbed on me as I was starting my stream. I haven't seen one of like these before. Part of me wants to get him closer to some greenery. He looks very tasty, and I just heard a bird fly over me. I know it wouldn't be tasty to me, but to the birdies, definitely. This worm is doing what looks like the equivalent of running. I'm gonna go and put him on that green right there. Darsh blows. The little wormy is on some vegetation. This vegetation has definitely been eaten by something else before, I can see. Right. Last Fahrenheit day here in South Africa. It is blazing. Absolutely blazing. Here we go. I'm gonna get my comments pulled down. Are saying, if anything at all. I do at least have my scarf completely saturated in water and stuff, so I am as cool as I can hope to be considering my environment. I do hope that the internet quality is keeping up. Let's see. I'll be able to tell. Looks a little bit crispy. Let me exit out and come back. There we go. Let's see if that fixed it. Yeah, it usually does. Good thing that I pay attention because I should definitely do this right off the bat as quickly as I can. Thank you for joining me, friend. Yeah, you. It's just me and you here right now. I do think I said indeed and greetings unto you, beloved and only friends. But if I didn't, I'll say it again. And I can start to introduce today's stream topic. We're going to talk about shame. Shame, how it affects our lives, how specifically the way I want to talk about shame today, it stops us from being ourselves. Maybe not directly stopping us from being ourselves in this moment right now, but almost like the fullness of what you are here to express. You have all of this potential, all of this capacity, all of these hopes and dreams, all of this ability to make a difference in the lives of other people. But we don't because we're scared of being shamed. We feel ashamed even in just imagining ourselves taking on that role and doing such a thing. And I wonder how much of us are being held back by this idea of shame. How much of it is programming as well, in large part, right? What I've been convinced is shameful of eating food, weirdly enough. I don't know if I was taught that eating food is shameful, but that definitely has been an experience that seems to be prevalent in my personal experience. How many things have I not eaten because I felt too ashamed to? I guess that's probably like one of those case scenarios that's an extreme point of privilege. Yesterday I got a splinter, it seems. I just noticed it in my hand. It doesn't seem very happy. Maybe I'll have to open it up and investigate. In here I have Blueberry Sunset. It's one of Dine's strains, actually. The owner of the dispensary that I get my bud at. It's hot. It's hot and I'm trying to cope still a little bit. Thinking about shame. I think it does in part bleed into yesterday's stream topic. We talked yesterday about taking it easy. And I feel this is in part an extension of that stream topic. I am not wearing long pants today. Usually I do. So there was this joke made in the yoga that I should be ashamed. And then just to think of literally been shaped in that way as well, how that used to be a way of doing things, that women were supposed to be dressed in a certain way. If you showed ankle, that was promiscuous, right? Like I show you my ankle and then that is my flirtatiousness to you, right? And we have abolished a lot of that shame, which I believe is a good thing in our species. But we have gained many other shames as well. I can see your thigh. You can? How much of me is in camera? My thighs should not be visible. Maybe you saw that one. Ashamed? Me? Ashamed? Never. Never. Be gone, ashamed, I say. You do not serve me. It is one of those things, it's a little bit of a practical joke we play on ourselves, though. Right? Because I can say such things, but I might not be right. I might not be exactly truthful in saying them. Because there's a lot of shame in my experience, I believe. Hey, Google. Hey, Google. Define shame. Ha, knew that would make you squirm. You know me well, joy for you. Shame, apparently, is an unpleasant, self conscious emotion associated with negative self evaluation, motivation to quit, and feelings of pain, exposure, distrust, powerlessness, and worthlessness. All those are for what shame. Disconnected for a second there. Likening these senses of shame we're experiencing to our society, where again, if we're gonna go through that list, the society we find ourselves within right now values us based on how much money we can make. Yesterday we talked in part about taking it easy from this perspective of making money, right? And that if I want to take it easy, I cannot make a lot of money, right? Those are kind of my options, the choices that are available to me. And it can be shame. It can be so much shame in that experience associated with this deep sense of worthlessness that, oh, if I'm not doing this, if I'm not being in a certain way, then I have no worth, right? And I I don't think that's true, but that feeling of shame still arises. Powerlessness, right? That's a big one as well. That our society in and of itself might not try to make you feel powerless, but it is set up in a way where the game is played, right? The chips have been stacked. You feel very powerless in this hole that we are a part of right now, in the society that we find ourselves, in. Boom, shame. Another one, distrust. Yes, we have been told not to trust each other more than ever these days. The amount of miscommunication, the amount of misinformation, AI coming into the fray right now as well with generative capabilities. A lot of distrust will probably arise. Exposure, being seen. That's the biggest point of shame that I had to come over when it came to doing these kind of things. Showing up for a live stream puts you in a certain light of exposure. And you have to become aware of that fact because it does affect your psyche. I'll feel ashamed, for example, having said something silly, and I'll think about it. We have Sun King joining us saying, times are definitely strange right now. It's always darkest before the light. I like to believe. Neon is the loneliest colors here too. Hey Neon, it's nice having you. We have Fit here too. So bitches, much love to you too. Feelings of pain. We don't feel too much pain these days, but it could be emotional pain as well that you can feel ashamed for. And then motivation to quit, negative self-evaluation. Those two are big ones as well. And that is technically what spawned, what inspired today's whole stream topic, is that motivation to quit. That shame is motivation to quit. All right. It makes you feel less than, makes you feel worthless, makes you feel powerless. Tries to convince you that, you are not all that. That's kind of what shame registers like in my experience. And it seems very destructive, seems very derogatory, seems very circumstantial. Like there will be shame that arises in a moment. And then that shame will almost try and like stake its claim. Will try and put some foundations down to try and convince me that in fact not only should I be ashamed right now, but I should actually be ashamed all the time. Because I suck that much. I'm happy to be myself, as difficult as it is, but at least I'm not a carbon copy. Yeah, true, Sunkin. I don't think anybody is technically a carbon copy, but I do get what you're saying in saying that. Having a modicum, that's the word, having a modicum of self-creation. Because that is, you are a story you tell yourself. A few days ago, we had a whole stream topic talking about exactly that. That you are the story you tell yourself every day, in every moment. And telling yourself this story of shame is kind of lame. It's kind of not cool, bro. It's kind of not kosher. Why are you doing that? Why am I doing that to myself? Big points of shame for me is body image stuff. Goodness, there's a lot of shame. So much shame. Body image, as a terminology, work ethic. Right? Because I believe I have extreme work ethic, but at the same time, I have extreme not care energy as well in other ways. And if the extreme not care energy steps in, it's almost like the work ethic steps down. So I have to find myself caring about something like a lot to manifest that work ethic inside myself. And there's a lot of shame in my experience that I am like that. Right? I feel like I'm supposed to always just be able to have this excitement, this joy, this enthusiasm. Maybe that's the right word. I should always have this enthusiasm for whatever it is I'm doing. Always. Always. Non-stop enthusiasm. But I get that that's also probably not a realistic ask. And I shouldn't shame myself. I think shaming myself is only reducing the amount of enthusiasm, probably. Fit is asking me, how's life with you, Melt? I haven't had a chance to get on here the last few weeks. Busy, busy, busy. Things are good. Things are real good. We're starting to pack for the most part. We're moving back home. So that's a development, like We finally got convinced that this is not the place we want to be staying, and I am kind of excited to go back home. I think it's gonna be a kind of sanctuary. Almost, my mind is almost like thinking akin to what rehab does for addicts. If I was addicted to anything this year, I was addicted to suffering and struggle. I was addicted to shame. Mm, yes, and I plan on slowly but surely unpeeling the onion that is my experience when I'm in an environment where I can do so. I look forward to seeing what happens with you friends. Shame. Shame. Talking about shame. Shame has been a big part of that whole experience as well, of thinking about the fact that I have to go back home. I don't have to. I can go wherever I want, right? I can go and sleep under a bridge somewhere if that suits me. I don't think it does, given I could go to some friends' places, but I don't like even the idea of overstaying my welcome. So right now I'm going back home. My room is outside the house, right? So I can literally be outside the house. I don't have to interrupt the livelihoods of those that I live around. It's a beautiful environment. This environment has a few beautiful spots that I have now at least been able to use because of the microphones that Jovan got me. All right, but that being said, there's not many. There's not many here, and there's more back home, relatively speaking. And I would like to share that beauty with you friends as well. I don't know exactly what the best thing is for you, but I know you have eyes, and I know you can see stuff like these roots busting out the rocks. That's why I set up the camera the way that I did. Let me see if I can give you even a better perspective. Is that a better perspective? You let me know. More Borakan routers. Let me unlock my second screen. Yeah, okay. Sun King says, I kind of get what you're saying. Like we narrate our own stories, and our narration determines what we are, almost as if we're grading ourselves. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, friend. I like that reimagining. It is like we're grading ourselves, right? Like if you had to give yourself a scorecard on how good of a life you're living, of how, like that's literally it to the T, actually. If you had to give yourself a scorecard of how good a life you're living, what are you giving yourself out of 10 right now? You think you're living a 9 out of 10 life? An 8 out of 10 life? What do you think a 1 out of 10 life looks like? Right? And I think that perspective of where your life is can only be gained by one, living it, and two, being open and exposing yourself probably a little bit to other people's ways of living as well. There's a lot, there's a lot of people on planet Earth. Like that we're on the internet right now, the fact that we're kind of given the luxury. Disconnect for a second. It is something we need to be aware of, I believe at least. It is a big deal. It is a big deal to be a person on planet Earth alone. To be a person on planet Earth, this kind of technology, this kind of freedom, you hold a certain kind of stake in this collective trolley problem we are. Right? You get to move the lever, metaphorically speaking. You will make it believe that. A difference might look like this grand spectacle, people shouting your name. You know, the difference doesn't have to be that. You can make a difference in the small ways. You can make a difference in the way you stir your coffee, the way the spoon hits the side walls and the ding dinging ding dinging it makes might inspire someone to make a song that might inspire a whole generation to sing along, right? You can change the world in very small and insignificant ways to your own mind, especially when you are scorecarding yourself, grading yourself to be ashamed instead of actually really acknowledging what an incredible experience this is. Right, and I'm saying that as I'm looking down and I can see a splinter festering. It's not, I mean, it is. I think that is literally the word you use. I mean, still magnificent. Look at my immune system being like, oh, there's something invading us. There's a massive piece of carbon. Just like there, bro, menacingly, standing still. Oh, it'd been nice. I think I missed a few. I'm going back up. Shame is essentially doubting yourself and letting others' opinions get to you. I don't know. I don't know, actually. Weirdly enough, Nancy, others' opinions reinforces my ability to not feel shame, right? If you try and force me to feel shame, I almost have this ability to like switch that part of myself off and then dig my heels in and almost like as a state of righteousness, you know, contest that, like go, like how dare you, you know. That's how I usually register. Most of my shame comes from myself. Usually, so in comparison, I think that's the biggest shame inducer is self comparison, right? And it could be done in that way as well as you're saying, Neon, that you might be compared by someone else, and then that can create the whole spiral of feeling shame as well. So you are right in that way too. I don't see the other chats. Are you broadcasting elsewhere? No, I'm broadcasting here on YouTube right now. Maybe it's all messages kind of thing. People can't just say they don't know something. Instead, they puff themselves up and put up a show. It's true. It is, again, answerable by shame, I believe. People do not want to feel inadequate even for a split second because we are all egos in that way, right? And as an ego, you are putting up this show. You are pretending to be something. And you might not be doing that intentionally, but that is ultimately what's happening. You start pretending from a very young age. It's like a mimicry. You have parents, they are a certain way, you start mimicking them, they go, oh yeah, good. They reward you for being a good mimic, and then you just slowly but surely continue doing that until you reach a point in your own experience where you realize you like mimicking certain things more than you like mimicking others. And then things change, right? Things keep changing. It keeps literally ceaselessly so. That there is this certain willingness that you have to take to acknowledge, as you said, Hoopy, that you don't know, and that there is some room for you to sit down and ask questions again. Like there's so many new scientific discoveries and stuff happening right now where it's forcing us to rethink the way we're considering this whole thing to be, set up in the first place. How much, how much shame, how much shame. Is shame a new feeling? That's the thing that I'm now thinking about. Is it relatively new? Hey Google, what's the first documented report of shame? The origins of shame. Shame emerged from evolved disease and avoidance architecture. The message of patient safety, the shame of the states, the shame of a nation, the story of gender, oh goodness, shame, guilt, symptoms of depression. Hey Google, I should actually be talking to a language model about stuff like this. Should be better equipped. Internet connected language model. Me and my friends are having a conversation about shame right now. And it's bringing me down to this point of considering, is shame a relatively new experience or a new emotion that came up with us as a civilization? Is shame in part a byproduct of our internet? Because I find, at least in my personal experience, shame arises more than anything when it comes to comparison, comparing myself to myself or to what to what I'm supposed to have been. Please. Mm-mm-mm. Says up until we're about 30, we're concerned about what others think of us. And in our 40s, we care a little less. In our 60s, we realize nobody thought about us at all. Whew. That's a real one. How old are you, Sun King? If you're willing to tell. I'm still on my way to my 30s, bro. I still do care a little bit, I think. Okay, neat. I see it now. It's nice to have all the farm animals in stream. It's beautiful. Could be much worse for sure. True. True. Pride is the source of shame. Pride is the source of shame. Woo! Woo! Now we're getting somewhere. Sam, 42. Nice. The age that is the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything. Perfect sentence structure, yes. But I like that. I really like that. Sam, shame. What's the exact words you used? Pride is the source of shame. I like that. Yo, that makes me think a lot. I'm going to read this too, and then I'm going to ask it what it thinks about what you said. Shame is a complex emotion that has been integral to human experience long before the advent of the internet or modern civilization. It is characterized by a negative evaluation of oneself and a desire to hide or escape from perceived shortcomings. Historical perspective on shame is that it played a significant role in shaping societal behaviors and cultural norms. In many societies, it functioned as a mechanism to enforce conformity and discourage action that deviates from accepted standards. For instance, in ancient communities, public shaming was often employed to maintain social order and cohesion, and we need to bring that back. I think it already is back, but not properly. And I think Sam, I'm only saying that because I know Sam is going to be like, yeah. Shame and social comparison. There it is. This social comparison is a big one. Your observation about shame arising from comparison allies to psychological theories. Leon Fechtinger's social comparison theory, introduced in 1954, posits that individuals evaluate their own opinions and abilities by comparing themselves to others. This process can lead to feelings of inadequacy and shame, especially when one perceives themselves as lacking in comparison. The impact of shame, the impact of the internet on shame. While shame is not a product of the internet, the digital age has definitely amplified opportunities for social comparison. Social media platforms, in particular, represent curated versions of others' lives, which intensify feelings of inadequacy and shame. Studies have shown that exposure to idealized images and lifestyles online can lead to negative self evaluation and increased shame. Checks out, feels very true. Personal reflection. Your personal experience of shame linked to self comparison is a common phenomenon. The internet facilitates constant exposure to others' achievements and lifestyles, making it easier to engage in upward social comparisons. This can exacerbate feelings of shame, especially when one's self perception doesn't align with perceived social expectations. Yeah, how about that? I feel in part that is why I have been doing my streams the way I have as well. that just sitting down as myself with you as yourself, shamelessly, having a conversation, right, as these versions of us, that feels like I'm not trying to shame you for something, right? Feels closer to authentic, I feel at least. There's a lot of bugs on me right now. One of my friends posited that pride is the source of shame. Is there any scientific or philosophical basis in that understanding? What do you think? I'm only asking because I'm curious if it will start citing papers. The actual words were pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame. More Avatar. The last airbender wisdom. Nice. Comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah, and I like joy. I want her to stay. Do not get stolen. Psychological perspective. Psychologically, pride and shame are classified as self conscious emotions arising from self reflection and self evaluation. Pride results from positive self assessment, while shame stems from negative self assessment. You see, this is now again bringing up things for me to think about because it's a certain assessment, and we are problem solvers, we are pattern recognizers. We see things in our own lives and in the universe, and we learn from that, compare with that. Research indicates that excessive or hubristic pride, characterized by an inflated sense of self, can lead to feelings of shame, especially when one's self perception is challenged or contradicted by external feedback. This dynamic suggests that an overemphasis on pride may set the stage for subsequent shame when expectations are unmet. Feels very aptly put. As in, you might have these expectations from your perspective of pride about what life is supposed to be like, and then it isn't. And then instead of that just being life, and there being a certain sense of acceptance and a certain sense of understanding that comes along with that, there is shame instead. Okay, I'm learning. Psychological perspective, phys- philosophical perspective, philosophically, thinkers like David Hume have examined the interplay between pride and shame. Hume posits that both emotions are linked to self evaluation and self perception. And in this view, pride can lead to shame when an individual's actions or traits, initially a source of pride, are later judged negatively by oneself or others. That's literally bullseye to my personal experience. Because I feel like I am not as skilled as I need to be to say it in so many words. And I don't know if I've ever really thought that I'm so skilled. Oh wow, I'm so amazingly skilled. Not really. But on the other side, now that I'm in an industry, there is a lot of comparison with what's happening, and it is not helpful. Oh goodness. By other stuff. Okay, the shift highlights the fluid nature of self-assessment and the potential for pride to transform into shame under changing circumstances. Interconnectedness of pride and shame. The connection between pride and shame is further supported by the concept that both emotions involve the focus on the self and one's social standing. Pride can motivate individuals to achieve and maintain a positive self image, but when this image is threatened or disproven, it leads to shame. This relationship underscores the delicate balance between these emotions and how shifts in self perception and external validation can influence one emotional state. Yeah. Checks out. I'm refreshing my chat quickly. I heard this. Disappeared. Yeah, back again. The okay comparison is joy. I'm still a child. I do no learning. I do no learning. Maybe you mean like no, as in you know it because you've been doing it for a long time. I read once that happiness is life minus expectations. I like that too. I think a lot of us right now probably have some unreasonable expectations of ourselves. And I'm sure for a lot of us it's a great point of shame that we can't seem to meet this expectation. Doesn't necessarily have to be of yourself, it can be of your parents or your comparison with your siblings or the way you have seen yourself, right? And how you see yourself now. Just that, just that can be a point of shame as well. I feel like we shared a lot. I'm going to start up a second stream. If it's the first time that you're here, I do this every single day. I don't know if you join us regularly, Sun King, but it was really nice having you. Do subscribe. I'm going to do a horizontal one next. Here's another one. The real you exists between breathing in and breathing out. The real me knocked on the window as I was doing that and said, "He likes you, Sun King." That's what he actually said, but I translate. I appreciate you, friends, for joining me. I'm going to set up for the next one. It's gonna be like a. You're gonna get so much more rock face. Subscribe. Oh, bless, bro. Thank you, friends, for joining me. Super nice having you. Till we see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.